Jeremy and Joe, good morning. Happy Victory Monday. Buffalo Bills Football Monday brought to you by Northwest Bank. For what's next, get started at northwest.com. Sal Capaccio going to join us here on the Wester Hotline. He was at Gillette Stadium yesterday for that game. The Bills rallied to win 35-31. Sal, good morning. You know, for longtime Bills fans, it was probably pretty sweet, not only, of course, to win a game, but if there's a group of fans whose party you're about to wreck, that's a pretty good group of fans to ruin their party. Halftime, I'm sure they are getting those hats and T-shirts, and they had to stuff them away for a little while at least.
I'm with you on that one, guys. No doubt about it. It's a place that I've gone far too many times where they just knew that it was their birthright, kind of through the Tom Brady era, to win, celebrate, whether it was the Bills being a little bit better, not as good. And then over the last several years, the Bills have kind of had their way there. And, with them rising up now and having a really good young quarterback and having the ability to win a division, the Bills spoiling that party. Yeah, it was a really interesting stadium, interesting crowd. There were quite a few Bills fans. I said it all week, and it was pretty much was true. Not as many as you'll get in a lot of other road stadiums. It's a tougher ticket to get in the first place. It's a more expensive stadium, but especially when I read the average ticket price was over $400. Patriots fans weren't dumping their tickets. They wanted to be a part of that, and man, Bills fans stayed in the second half. You could feel the energy. And it was the easiest layup headline in the world, A Tale of Two Halves. Not A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, but it just made it that way, right? I mean, absolutely A Tale of Two Halves. Unbelievable, the difference between the first half and the second half. This wasn't even like last week where a few things went wrong in the first half and you just kind of couldn't get – you really had to figure out, come on, let's just get a stop or two. This was everything snowballing against the Bills. It was so lopsided in the first half. And then completely flipped on its head in the second.
Yeah. I saw Mike Heim, who does a bunch of Buffalo Bills stats, had numbers on this, like the tale of two halves. The Bills had 197 more total yards in the second half than the first, the largest difference in a game since it was Tennessee in 2024. They had a big one like that. In a road game, it's the biggest gap since 2002. And it happened on defense, too, right? Like 185 fewer yards in the first and the second half. And that's the largest gap the Bills have had since since Atlanta. We've seen this a little bit before. This script, Sal, has played out multiple times this year where the defense looks like it's got absolutely no answers in the first half, and then they get the answers in the second half. And we just kind of wait to see if the offense can come alive and figure it out. And, of course, they did, like 5 consecutive touchdown drives. What, to your eye, flipped? Let's start with the offense first. How were they able to go from, in their own way, inefficient, not being able to convert, punting, a couple of plus territory punts, to 5 consecutive touchdown drives?
Excuse me. Well, they got to the running game. They got back to the running game the way they needed to, first of all. I just didn't think that they were really in position. It felt like after the first play where Brandon Cooks dropped the ball, they were kind of already behind, second and 10 right there. They couldn't stay on schedule, as you say, right? They got to running the ball. And, Josh said, and he was right, Ray Davis, that kick return in the second half really just kind of gave them, okay, we're in a good position here. They got the ball to start the second half. You knew if you scored, you're down 10 points, and that's a new ball game. And I think really that just settled them down. I really think that kind of flip where they could just stay balanced. They could stay balanced in the second half. They were able to get to the run game. They were able to get to some concepts they wanted to use throughout the game. They never really got it to it in the first half because they didn't have the ball enough. The Patriots dominated. They had the ball, time of possession. They were running on the Bills. They were putting the Bills down. The Bills felt, I think, they were pressing a little bit in the first half. I actually thought the Bills played tight. One of the reasons why that they didn't play well in the first half, I thought they played a little tight. They were making mistakes. They couldn't get to what they wanted to do. I think they just kind of became themselves in the second half. I know it sounds cliche. I do. I just think they settled down. They got more of a balanced attack. That really opened up a little bit of everything. So that was nice for them to be able to do that. And then once they started rolling in the second half and figured, okay, it's a 10-point game. They get that first touchdown. They're leaning on the run game. Now you just feel like you can kind of use your whole playbook, and there's a lot of football to be played.
Yeah. So I want to ask you something like this. Might be tough to answer, but, watching them come back like this and watching them never quit, and you want to say that it's heart or whatever you want to say, I think Josh Allen would get a lot of credit for that, right? When you're on the sideline as a player and Allen is your quarterback, I can think of this for the opener, Joey Bosa talking about how much fun it is and Khalil Shakir. And, Allen wanted to credit the rest of the team as well, like he often does, like the belief they have in each other. And I wonder, how much of the belief in it's never over until it's over most of that I think is Allen. But like McDermott, the coaches, like the kind of atmosphere they foster, like who else deserves slices of that pie?
I just think that they have belief in one another, knowing they have Josh Allen, and belief in their coaching staff that they're going to put him in a position to be able to still fix things that are going wrong and correct them and get it right by the end of the game. Yes, that's right. It's not just Josh Allen, but certainly when you have that quarterback on your sideline and you know that you're still down, you can score at any time. He can do a lot of great things that other people just can't do. And I said it last week. I kept using the phrase last week after the Bengals. I'm going to use it again today. I'm going to say it on the Extra Point Show a lot today. Just keep playing.
Yeah.
You just keep playing. It's a long game. This is sports, everybody. Now, it's not ideal. You don't want to do this every week. I'm not saying this is, don't worry about it. The Bills will just win. This is not a great, you can't continue to do this every week, right? And it's going to catch up to you eventually, you would think. But you just keep playing. It's sports. The game is long. You're going to make plays. They're going to make plays. They made a lot of plays. They had a really good game plan. Let's remember, the Patriots had 2 weeks to prepare for the Bills. They had some wrinkles in early in the game. They were keeping the Bills off balance. I thought the Patriots came out. You know what Shaq Thompson said? I think it was Shaq Thompson in the locker room. He said they had their first 15, like it was tough. Like they were trying to keep up and like they had a really good script. Give the Patriots coaches credit to having a really nice first script of the game and to, do what they wanted to do. Give the Bills coaches credit for saying, okay, we took your punch. We see what you're wanting to do. You showed your hand. What do you have left now? We're going to make some adjustments. And the Bills from there outcoach the Patriots after all of that. So I just think it's all of that mixed in, Jeremy, where there's just a lot of faith and belief over the years that we have the right coaches in place and we have the quarterback that's able to do it. All we got to do on defense is get a few stops and give them the ball a couple of times.
And what's interesting about the comeback yesterday, Sal, is that when you're usually down 21, you're throwing your way back into the game because you have to. And the Bills didn't really give up on the run. I mean, their first drive out of the third quarter that they scored to go down 10, they didn't throw a pass until the final play, which was to Dawson Knox in the end zone. So, like, they stayed committed to the run, and I guess just because they were so efficient at it, they were able to do that. Because usually that's, all right, well, now the clock's going to start winding, and you don't have enough time to run the ball.
Well, this goes back to a moment ago what I just said, Joe, which is that big kick return put them in that spot. When he returns the ball to open, when Ray Davis returns the ball to open the second half out to the New England 44-yard line, you're already in their territory. You don't have to start pressing and start throwing the ball and get the ball to midfield and as quickly as possible. Okay, we can lean on the run game. The whole playbook is open here. What can we do? First play out of the chute, 11 yards to James Cook. The next play, 4 yards, then 3 yards. They get into a third down, but it's a manageable third down, right? Josh Allen takes the ball. Now you can just start using all of your weapons, everything that you want to do on the offensive side. I just think that was a really big play. By the way, the kickoff. I just looked this morning. Ray Davis is now the leader in NFL kick returns in average yards of kick return by a wide margin. He's got like 5 more yards than the next closest guy, and that's with the same amount of returns basically as everybody else. I mean, this guy is a weapon right now, and those returns mattered a ton. Before we even get into the defense, because I don't want to forget it, one area the Bills dominated this game was special teams. I mean, they were, and this is a very highly regarded New England Patriots special teams unit. All right. Ray Davis, 41 yards of return on kick returns. Did you guys notice the kickoff formation? Total new wrinkle from Chris Tabor. Don't want it to go unnoticed. They used one kick returner, not two. Ty Johnson wasn't back there. It was Reggie Gilliam. It was one kick returner with an up man, Reggie Gilliam as a fullback. I asked Reggie about it in the locker room after. He said they kind of went back to what the old kick return was with the wedge, with him being as a lead blocker. But now you're seeing everything. You're a fullback leading the way. That was a great wrinkle by Chris Tabor, by the way. Marcus Jones, best punt return in the league, arguably. They held him to 5 yards total in punt returns. Wisnowski had 4 punts, 3 inside the 20, and Matt Prater was 5 for 5. The Bills dominated this game on special teams. And, Joe, when you say they were able to stay with the run game, that's because they won the field position battle by a lot because of their special teams.
Right. They've really landed on the beginning of the season, Sal. It was James Cook is the only running back that was doing anything for this team. And now Davis is doing much of it in the return game. You just mentioned he's leading the league. And Ty Johnson's getting touches. Like, suddenly all 3 backs are contributing.
Yeah, and I it's good for Ray Davis. I think they've found a niche for Ray Davis, right? If you're not going to use him on offense, you use him as a kick returner. And it's really interesting to see the evolution of how the Bills have used their kick return. Now, the Bills are still one of, if not the worst, statistically punt return team in the league. They have Khalil Shakir back there to catch punts, and yeah, he can return one once in a while. So that doesn't help them. But their drive starts on kick returns has generally been really good over the last several weeks, and you guys have seen it, the Tampa Bay game as well. But anyway, that's a phase of this game that has to be recognized for why the Bills won.
Sal Capaccio joining us on the Western Hotline. Special teams, indeed, a very big part of this win. We also, Sal, see, like this defense, maybe it knows, maybe part of like this whole game script that they get, they don't have to be perfect. They have to make a couple plays. They have to make a couple stops. And Matt Milano flashed in this game. Like we kind of got a chance to remember that guy making big plays for them? A couple of sacks. Like Milano was big. Joey Bosa had some big plays. You got your players to make plays, which has kind of been what this defense has been now for going on 2 years.
Yeah, and after the Patriots, had that big run, and big run, like the first whole half, yeah, they had a big run, hit a couple big runs. But after they were up 21-0, you felt like everything was just falling on you. But I think they kind of showed their hand and everything they wanted to do. And give the Bills coaches credit. They said, okay, well, we have to make some adjustments here. And I think one of the adjustments was, and we've seen this before, guys, they started to put more pressure without the front four. I think the Bills go into every game. I've kind of realized this. The Bills go into every game hoping they're going to get pressure with their front four. And one of the issues I think they've had on defense is they're not getting it in the first half. And that's why teams are having success on them in the first half. And it takes the Bills a little while to finally say, all right, we're going to have to start sending pressure. Clearly, they don't want to do that necessarily, right, to start the game. But they started doing that a little bit later. And Matt Milano's always been a good blitzer. They don't love using him in that role because he's so good sideline to sideline diagnosing. But he came through the middle. I mean, he tackled the one sack. He grabbed Drake May with one arm, and he was able to throw him to the ground. I'm laughing because I'm trying to think. It was kind of funny. He was grabbing him, and I thought Drake May would get out because Drake May's pretty strong, and he got out of like Ogunjobi early in the game. Matt Milano dragged him down. You're right. They got plays from their players who they needed to get plays from. I mean, the second half, what the Bills did to Drake May and the Patriots pass game, I have to go back and look and see because – he held onto the ball for a long time, and no one was open.
Yeah, he did, Sal. And not only that, like I thought he was. I said this earlier to Joe. If I'm going back and watching New England tape as a Patriots coach, I'd want May to be a little more eager to run because he was killing the Bills early running the ball, and then he just kind of stopped. I mean, the defense might have convinced him not to, but I thought he had a couple.
Can I tell you one of the things they did? They added a spy more often in the second half. Sure. And he sees that. But you're right, Jeremy. Like you're Drake May, right? You're a good runner. You're a good athlete. He probably, you're right. If I'm watching New England, I'm thinking, just like Josh Allen, okay, there's a spy. You can beat that guy, right?
Yeah. Or just take the 7 yards you're going to get. He's going to spy you, so you're not going to break free. But, there are a couple times I was just thinking, like, that's what went away. Like, May was extending drives early on, and, of course, he ran for the 2 touchdowns. They call like a designed run for him. It's a quarterback that gets a designed run, buddy, sometimes you got to scramble.
For sure. And that is a big part of their game, and he did a good job of that early on. The Bills added a spy. I did the snap counts this morning, and I tried to figure out if the Bills were strictly in nickel and then had just a one-for-one switch a lot because I saw a lot of linebackers shuffling in and out. I even saw Joey Andreessen go in for Shaq Thompson for a play. I don't know if Shaq had a problem with his helmet or whatever, but they used every linebacker. And the Bills did have Taron Johnson on the field for close to 80% of the snaps, but they actually had 3 linebackers on the field, like including Dorian Williams, for even more than the additional, 20% there. The point I'm making is They mixed in their linebackers. They went 3 linebackers. They went spy. They moved guys in and out. They're using their linebackers all in different ways. And one of those ways, Jeremy, was they spied Drake May in the second half. That's Dorian Williams sometimes. Matt Milano's been used that way. I don't know if he was particularly now. I think Shaq Thompson was once or twice, but they kind of mix that up. And that's one of the things you have to do. It's one thing to have a spy, but if the defense knows exactly who the spy is and they can identify it, and then you can drop other guys in coverage if they don't. That's how Joey Bosa drops in coverage once in a while. You have a spy right there. Joey drops. Somebody else comes off the edge. I think the Bills just really had to get creative on defense, which is what happened. And, give them credit. They really kind of did a great job on the Patriots passing game. Last game, we talked about how much Stephon Diggs could completely torch them. Stephon Diggs did nothing in this game. They did a really good job. I heard all week how he's just going to torch Taron Johnson. Taron Johnson had a bad game the first time they played. But you know what? The Bills relied on team defense and Taron Johnson and everybody to do a job. And without Christian Benford even, Max Harrison, Tre'Davious White comes up with a really athletic interception. Other than the pass on the sidelines on the first series that actually probably should have been overturned or challenged or whatever. I didn't hear Max Harrison's name called all game. You know why? Because he did a nice job.
Yeah, the Bills structurally, defensively, like, listen, Drake May is elite at throwing the ball deep, and they did not get burned by that really at all. Like the one Butte that you mentioned, like he caught it and trapped it. But past that, like there's a Mac Hollins catch on a big third down after. I can't even think of any plays after that.
Even that one was contested. Like that's where I wonder, Sal, like if they felt more comfortable, like okay, we could throw some more blitzes his way and even throw a spy at him, because we just saw a quarter of, even though they couldn't really stop the run and the Patriots were scoring, they might have felt like, okay, we can cover these guys.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Joe, because and I would say there's definitely some of this which is true, which is every Tuesday, I put out the Bills' stats, right? How they are doing against the run, the pass, and all of that. And we all know the run defense is not good. Statistically, it's the worst run defense in the league. They give up a lot of run yards. And then you look at the pass defense, it's one of the best, if not the best in the league. And a lot of the responses are, well, that's because teams aren't passing on them. They're just running on them. Well, that's kind of sort of true. Teams are running on the Bills more than passing. But the Bills are actually a good pass defense. They do a good job in the secondary. They've straightened that area out. I think we can all point to even the safety switch that they made halfway through the year. You know, Taylor Rapp is out, a banged-up Taylor Rapp. Now you have Jordan Poyer in there with Cole Bishop. I think they've stabilized their secondary with some of these switches, and I think Max Harrison is coming along really well. One of the byproducts of this game, you get Max Harrison a full game in that environment against that offense and against Drake May, and he's gonna be better for that, and you have to think about that. And then I think Tre'Davious White is playing some good football right now.
He has been for a while. Did you, by the way, on Harrison very quickly, did you have an opinion or see back the second Travion Henderson touchdown run? I saw some people blaming Epinesa. Some people were wondering if that was Harrison's fault, like why that happened.
Okay, to me, it's Epinesa.
Okay.
I have to go back and look at Harrison, but in real time, I actually talked with AJ about this in the locker room. And, he kind of walked me through what his job was on that play. And, I think he knows he needed to be a little bit better there on that play. I thought AJ should have not slow played it as much. He kind of slow played it, and then as soon as he reacted a little bit to get into the pile because he thought he was going to be a part of the the gang tackle, and then he comes out. To me, he's got to set the edge, but I'm sure Harrison as well. Like both those guys, anybody who's on that side has to be a little bit better at watching that come back out the other end. But I thought it was Epinesa in real time, and AJ's actually usually a really technically sound player. Like AJ understands his role really well. And in that instance, I thought that he got washed down a little bit.
One last thing, Sal, before we go. I'm kind of wondering if, as we've been waiting to say, someone's going to have to step up in the passing game. Who will it be? The re-emergence again of Dawson Knox. Like Dawson Knox was a good pass catcher for the Bills for a while, and then he kind of took on a lesser role in that department with the introduction of Dalton Kincaid. But the last couple games here, all of a sudden he's finding his way in the end zone. He's getting lots of targets. Against Cincinnati, he had 6 catches for 93, right? Like the target numbers, the last 6-7 games, it's 4-3, 4-4, 7-4 after several weeks of 1 and 2 and 0. Like the re-emergence of Dawson Knox, proud new father, congratulations to him. Like to me, that is something that the Bills have been leaning on a bit and can maybe change their passing game a little bit.
Yeah, what a week for Dawson Knox, right? Him and his wife, Alex, they have their baby daughter becomes a dad for the first time early in the week. That's why he missed practice on Wednesday. Then he comes back to practice, and suddenly he becomes a big, part of the offense again on Sunday for the second straight week. One of the reasons, Jeremy, though, is he's getting opportunity with snap counts. They're laying off Dalton Kincaid a little bit here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure part of it is he's dealing with the knee injury. But if you look at the snap counts this morning, I tweeted them out, by the way, guys. Really interesting snap counts when it comes to the tight end yesterday. Knox 45. So the Bills had 70 snaps on offense. Knox 45, Jackson Hawes 31, Dalton Kincaid 25. They've kind of just said Dalton Kincaid's going to be on the field. We need to throw some balls, and he's got to make catches. I think they're taking a little bit of the risk out for Dalton Kincaid with the knee to have him on there in a more of a physical role. And then you add in, so Knox and Hawes are on the field, so Knox is getting opportunity. And Dawson Knox has always been a nice dual threat tight end. He's not the elite tight end that you see around the league. These guys put up big numbers, but he can block, he can catch. He has a lot of trust with Josh Allen, and yeah, that was a really nice game for him. And I do think it keeps the defense off balance by knowing that they have a guy like that, and with Jackson Hawes. Jackson Hawes come on the field with Dawson Knox. Hawes is the blocker, and then suddenly Knox can leak out, and you put DBs in a bind. So, yeah, good for Dawson Knox. By the way, how about this? Dawson Knox, he actually passed. I don't know if everybody got this note yesterday. He became yesterday the all-time Buffalo Bills tight end touchdown leader. He passed Pete Metzelaars for the all-time leader in Bills touchdown receptions as a tight end with 26.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff.
Will Kincaid break that record? 26?
Good question. I thought about that too, yeah. 26 right now for Knox. He's got more to go. I know that he's got a big contract and people talk about the future, but listen to the way that Sean McDermott talks about Dawson Knox. Just in the post game last Friday on the radio when I had him on, after the season last year. I remember last year after the season, and there was a question asked to Sean McDermott after the season. Like they lose in the playoffs, and like, is there a guy that you really lean on? And he usually doesn't mention guys. Like, he just talks about the whole team, and he went right to Dawson Knox, how important he is to the entire team. And you remember the story I think Tyler Dunn wrote about Kincaid in the offseason, what happened after the play in Kansas City. And he said how, like, Dawson Knox was a big reason why he was able to kind of mentally get over what happened there. I'm just telling you guys, like, all this talk I hear about Dawson Knox won't be on the Bills in 26, his contract, I just think they'll figure out a way because they really, really believe he's important to this organization.
Any injuries yesterday, by the way?
The only one we got on the sidelines, other than you guys seeing Josh thrown up with, was not an injury, by the way. Josh said he does that before the games, and sometimes
I didn't realize that sometimes he's late. No wonder they had such a slow start. He was late. He was late to puke.
There it is. You're right. The only one we got on the sidelines was Jordan Phillips, who had an ankle injury. He was questionable to return, but he stayed on the field. I don't even know. He might have went back in the game later. I can't even remember, but that was really the only one we got on the sideline. So good news there on the injury front, but obviously we'll be monitoring Christian Benford this week, as well as Terrell Bernard still. So a couple to monitor going forward, but I think the Bills came out pretty clean in this one.
All right. Sal Capaccio, he's coming up at the 10 o'clock with the Northtown Automotive Extra Point Show. You can also go to WGR550.com for his arrow up and arrow down. Thank you, Sal.
You got it, guys.
Wide open for your phone calls next if you're on hold. Thanks for being patient. We'll buzz through your phone calls. Bills win.